being around guys like we have here and being around coaches like we have here, they just fill you with uber confidence. And just I've always been a guy to have extreme confidence in myself, and just being around guys like that and being around coaches like that just amplifies it even more.
023 956. You can change your God.
All right. Welcome in, everybody. Hump Day, Wednesday. College football underway. Pros is following this week. We made it. It's exciting. Got another game coming up this Saturday. That's fun to say. We've got a lot to talk about as well. Welcome in. We're here weekdays at 1 o'clock talking about Michigan football on the Maize and Blue Review, part of Michigan Rivals. And it's Michigan football today. You can join us in a variety of different ways. Leave your message in real time. We'll put it up on the screen and we'll talk about it. It's me today talking about what's going on with the Wolverines. And there's a few things going on. Let's get right to it. As we will look at Michigan's move up the top 25 college football polls. They came out yesterday, and Michigan moved up in both. We'll get to that. We'll talk about a key player on defense for the Wolverines, number 32, Jaylen Harrell. We will get to that coming up, but we will start the guy who is getting his first start coming up this Saturday night for the Wolverines, and that is JJ McCarthy. It is JJ McCarthy time. And why do you raise your voice and start yelling like that? Well, this is in some ways a long time coming. This is in some ways, you as a sports fan watching or listening to that, the very thing that you hope you get a chance for, that, you know, you anticipate maybe every year, maybe just once in a lifetime, you probably more than that. But what we have here is the first career start for a quarterback who checks all of the boxes that you want to check as a football fan. This was somebody who you have heard about for a very long time if you're a Michigan football fan. He came in with tons of fanfare. He was not by every service, but considered to be the premium 5-star super quarterback. So just on that, before you go any further, we're talking about people thinking, you know, you pay attention. You pay attention to everything. But if you're just, you say us, your average fan, you're going to be excited about somebody that they say is one of the best high school recruits in the country. Then you add the quarterback position. And that separates itself 4 or 5 times more than any of the other positions. Now you get to what you saw last year in some cameos and some sprinkling in of JJ McCarthy. Did he disappoint? Were you not seeing what you hoped to see from number 9 as a true freshman when he got in there last year? Or was he tantalizing in the way that he played last year? I'm going to go with the last item. And it started in the first game against Western last year. That 69-yard touchdown was, you say this sounds a little bit overpoured. That was one of the greatest plays in Michigan football history. His first play, his first touchdown. I don't know if it was his exact first play. One of his first plays. I don't need you to recount the whole thing, running around. Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball all the way across the field. Perfect strike. Woo! Baldwin walks in for the touchdown. Now you're going. An auspicious start for young McCarthy. And then there were other plays and throws that JJ made when he came in. Not like this last week, every single play seemed to be like perfect for JJ. What are you going to say? That's just, calling it like the way it was. Every play that he made on Saturday seemed to be perfect, but not every play last year seemed to, wasn't perfect I think about Northwestern. There was one where he was running around and, he missed a guy. It wasn't, it wasn't great. It wasn't this, outstanding play, but there was way more. And then, you put it all together with him being a 5-star, being a quarterback, and then, now getting his first start. And then what you did see from him is potential unlimited. So all of those things get you very excited as a college football fan when the top prospects debut. And this is a debut as a starter. That's different than coming in and making a few plays. Everybody loves you when you're the 5-star quarterback coming off the bench and, you get in there, you just everything, like, oh, this guy's the greatest. Now, people think that. And now he goes in where if his first throw, he overshoots the wide receiver, then the next one he buries into the ground. People are like, wait a second, maybe he's too amped up. And suddenly this, what I think looks like a 95% chance heading into this game that McCarthy is going to be named the starter for the rest of the year. He comes out, throwing the ball. I remember Matt Stafford in a game where the Lions headed home to win the NFC North. Stafford's all cranked up. He's jacked up. Jacked up. And Golden Tate, it was a good acquisition, by the Lions. He's standing out there as a little curl route. Stafford airmailed him by like 10 yards over his head. Played a terrible first half of the Lions. I don't need to tell you they lost that game. But, if JJ suddenly, who's sitting here so in the catbird seat, comes out and is sailing balls over a guy's head or burying him in the ground, he's so fired up. Or he fumbles, something bad. This thing evens up really quick, so you still could have that. But I'm anticipating that he comes out and plays fantastic. Mostly that's what I have seen. And then it just gets back again. It'll be a little bit like watching, speaking of the Lions, Sunday at 1:00. Aiden Hutchinson has looked good on Hard Knocks. He's looked good in, well, I guess that's where we've seen him. And we've seen him in a couple of exhibition games. He's played a series here or there, a couple snaps, different reps. He's looked pretty good. That first series, he came out, had a TFL, looked pretty good. And, number 2 pick overall, there's something about that, when they debut and, sometimes they're very memorable. You get in there and wait, I can think of, as being a Tigers fan, back when they had Justin Verlander, a number 2 overall pick, and you wait, and he didn't have the greatest, first start, but it was really the anticipation. It's like Casey Mize, any of these guys, really high picks, 1-1, 1-2. And that's kind of the way it is for me when, you come down and you look at JJ McCarthy. So I'm talking about him a little bit here. I want to see what the people have to say and get some of these messages up here. And I'll throw a few other things up there about JJ McCarthy. And then I thought, I don't know how, I read the Maize and Blue Review, and I'm on the message boards there at the Den, and I go across and I do listen to college football podcasts, and I watch college football live, not every day. I have it DVR'd, but I don't watch it every day. The point is there's also a lot of other different things that I'm looking at, for Michigan content. And I didn't see people making that a big of a deal. And maybe because it fits my narrative is why I'm going to make it a deal. I don't even know if it's going to be a big deal, but coming up about the quarterback plan, I will get to that in just a couple moments. Let's see what folks are thinking about here feedback-wise. KC is first up. And KC is asking a question. Who is better, Hawaii's starters on defense or Michigan's practice squad defense? So you're not in the too deep to be in the practice squad. So this consists of what? Mainly freshmen and walk-ons. Is that what we're talking about here? So I don't know. That's pretty good freshman defense. What would the corners look like? Kobe Jones, Miles Pollard, Zeke Berry, and Keon Sabb as your defensive back. That's an all true freshman defensive backfield, but pretty talented. Is that better than Hawaii? They're more talented. Could Hawaii have some better players in there? It's kind of the same thing at linebacker, and Michigan does have some guys down there on the defensive line that aren't all, the true freshmen. I think are in the two deep for Michigan. So you might have some older guys like Jadis or Iyuwanu at defensive tackle. I'm going to say Michigan. Just that I go through the names, and I don't know what. I certainly would think that on offense. I think that, but defense, you're asking the questions about I'll say the Michigan practice squad defensively. Hawaii's start. I mean, like if a normal football team, you would say, yeah, I'm going to say normal football team, an average football team, you would say they're starters, but this is not an average football team. This might be the worst football team in all of college football. So, yeah, I'll say Michigan's practice squad. James in agreement there. Let's see what Bryant has to say. JJ will break a Michigan quarterback record Saturday, hopefully. Well, maybe he will. How many opportunities is he going to get? Remember, he's probably going to have to give 10 or 15 of those snaps to Cade McNamara because they still are rotating, and maybe Harbaugh will want to give Cade a bite at that apple after last week and him. I know Harbaugh said that he played well, but everybody knows that he didn't. Those are things that you just have to say as a coach. And so he'll want to give Cade a chance to shine. So I don't know, I'm not holding anything. Maybe that he'll break Michigan records, but that gets back to it, Bryant, like the anticipation here. JJ McCarthy is a true sophomore. Or I feel like going back and, Keith Jackson. He is a sophomore. And he is getting a start in his second game as a true sophomore. And so he certainly could be the quarterback for the rest of this year. And if we're predicting right now, I would say that that's going to happen. I would also think that would mean that he would be the starting quarterback next year in 2023. And then a good chance that he is the quarterback in 2024 for the next 3 years. We could be talking about Michigan having their starting quarterback, and not just a starting quarterback again. If the difference in winning championships, the difference between beating Ohio State, and we all thought it was for over the last 17 years, the quarterback position. It ended up actually not being that last year, which was a surprise to everyone. But having a playmaker and a difference maker, and maybe one of the best quarterbacks in the country for the next 3 years, and that's the hope. That's where we're sitting right now as we're going in. That's why all the intrigue and everything else. That Michigan football could have this type of QB under center for the next 3 years. And you can say, yeah, but if he's that good, he'll be gone after next year. Well, if he is that good, if JJ McCarthy comes out and plays that well this year, and then he comes back and follows it up and plays that well as a junior, where he considers himself a lock, stock, and barrel first-round pick, well, then you as a Michigan fan will be very happy. As you're not going to go out there and be considered a surefire first-round pick, and Michigan's not all that good. And JJ's just kind of, okay. It probably means Michigan has won the Big Ten again. Certainly we're in the mix at the end. Who knows what it means? But it at least feels to me, as we talk about it today, the Wednesday before his first career start, talking about when he's going to leave. If he did leave after his junior season, it means that these next 2 years have been really good, which is just fabulous. Certainly you want the next 2 years to be really good, and then him still stay around for an extra year to be a senior because he just loves Michigan so much. I get that part. And so if that happens, this record breaking that Bryant is talking about here, I think there can be some records that go down. What would be a JJ McCarthy type record? Michigan has had some dual threat quarterbacks. Michigan has had an open offense that, has allowed quarterbacks to put up a lot of big numbers. I don't know. It seemed like big play potential records. hooking up with not only maybe running for a 90-yard touchdown, but throwing for a 90-yard touchdown. Big play, JJ. That's where I would be. That's where I'll be when it comes down to it. It's hard to say you're going to break some records touchdown with touchdown passes, considering that Michigan's a run first team and they're not going to throw as much as some other teams, some other Michigan teams. So I'll think a little bit more about the kind of record JJ would be breaking if he was going to break any. Hopefully, it's for consecutive wins in a row as a starter. That'd be a nice one. Maybe the record would be, Michigan getting to the college football playoff for 2 years in a row and quarterbacking them all the way through to the end. That would be a nice record for JJ. He'll put up the most yards against Ohio State by any Michigan quarterback this century. He'll put up more yards in the college football playoff as any quarterback in the previous, they're getting close to a decade of playing the college football playoff. And then he will break championship final game records. So those are some of the ones that I'm thinking about. Ricky asking if I think JJ is ready, and do you think he starts from this game forward? I do. That second part, unless he comes out and is wild, and that could happen. Doesn't take care of the ball. He's running around, fumbles it, running around, throws an interception. That's the way to not only, crack the door back open for Cade, but to allow him right back in where you do have a competition. But considering the opponent and the amount of games and what we have seen from McCarthy, I'm expecting him to be calm and cool and ready to go at the controls, play well, and then be the start of the rest of the season for Michigan. I do think he's ready for that. I think he's been around. He has seen it. He's got a good head on his shoulders, all those things. So, I think he is ready. Malachi is saying he has the it factor. People are like, I don't know what it is, but that it factor, but he's got it. I don't know what it is either, Malachi, but I'm talking about it. I'm with you. He does have it. He has it. Anoma has the it factor too. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. I had to look. I had thought I had put my work in because he had changed the way that his name looked from Tennessee Martin in the media guide to the way his name was spelled at Michigan. But I'd noticed that it's pretty clear in the pronunciation guide on MGO Blue in the game notes. I was calling him Anoma. But it is clearly phonetically spelled out in the guide as Yabi Anoma. RG3 butchered it. It's okay. I thought RG3 did a fine job. Good job. Not a great job. Good job. This Saturday, his first trip into the big house, but he was like, he didn't call him Yabi Anoma. He just called him something like Abinami. So, okay. We knew what he was talking about. But I think, that the first play, he came in, ran right in there, and look, it was a great rep. Sure. I'm in there. Steven saying it's JJ's world, and we are all just living in it right now. You are right, Steven. We are. Like, we've all. I was never a quarterback. I wasn't even a quarterback playing in the yard. Or, I was like fourth or fifth deep there. People didn't really want. But a few times I'd get in there, and I thought, I had the rhythm. I liked being a wide out, just running down the field, diving after the ball. So I didn't need to be official quarterback, certainly, or even quarterback. I liked running. What was going to be my point here? Oh, yeah, being a quarterback. You see him, in high school, the big man in high school, you're best looking kid, most popular kid. And, everybody loves the quarterback. And then just think about going to college then. And then having the name, image, and likeness where you're an instant millionaire. I don't know. As JJ McCarthy, it feels like he's a millionaire already. He hasn't started his first game in college. Guy could make $100 million by the time he's 25. Who knows? I mean, this money wise, everything. Quarterback getting ready to make his first start. I would say that it is fitting, Stephen, that it really is a world of McCarthy, and we are all just living in it. We're just witnessing it, but we'll have a little fun along the way. Antoine says people always ask the question if JJ is ready, but how do we actually get a quarterback ready besides pushing him out of the nest? And it's not like we're pushing him out against the toughest competition. He has some experience against tough competition, so this is the perfect situation to gradually get him ready. Yeah, this isn't an eagle being up on the mountain and taking him a little bit early and throwing him out. This is a nice soft, release of JJ. I don't know if it's is it perfect because Hawaii is going to be such an easy opponent that, he is bound to just have success? I mean, if you start, JJ McCarthy will never have an easier defense to go against than Hawaii in the rest of the time he ever plays football. Sometimes those things sound, like it was pretty grand, but I think that's true. So if that's it, if it gets tougher, like you wouldn't want him starting out against Alabama. If if he was throwing them to the Wolves on the road or something like that. Yeah, from that standpoint, yeah. I mean, what else? What else could you ask for? Antoine, easy opponent at home. Everybody's patting you on the back. Maybe being overconfident could be the thing that you might worry about if you're a Michigan. Like, you got to worry about something. I think the kid might be a little bit overconfident. I don't know. Maybe. Steven says this is the largest point spread in Michigan football history. I didn't realize that, Steven, and if you're right, I do remember, and it was only a couple of years ago, that Michigan was playing Rutgers in the steakhouse in town. My wife's pretty good at things like this, so she had called, I don't know, it was 2-3 weeks. Maybe she was looking at the schedule. It's pretty smart that way. But she had got the reservation for the week after the Rutgers game, and whatever Michigan was it ever the points that they scored or the spread, whatever it was, you got that amount percentage off of your dinner, and Michigan won 77-0. There are times when you're hoping for, well, then why not 80-0? Why not 50-0? Why not just keep it going? And so the 77% off was an excellent time down at the steakhouse in Ann Arbor. I was going with blackened mushrooms, sure. Yeah, oh yeah. This at the end, this beforehand. Keep them coming. Yeah. It was a great 77%. That's good. This is going to be an aside, and I'm going to tell it quickly because it has to do with Michigan football and food, and it just reminded me. There was a time on the back of the Michigan football ticket that it said, and there used to be a place called Damon's. It was a rib joint, and it was a great place to go as a sports fan. They had a big bar in the middle, but the best part is they had 5 or 6 big screen TVs, and you go to the NCAA during the NCAA tournament that have 5 basketball games going. Great place. They screwed up one year on the back of the ticket of the Michigan football ticket back when they had paper tickets. I don't even know if they have paper tickets anymore. I don't think they do. Maybe it's an option. You still can get them. But on the back of the ticket, it said, Damon's, bring the ticket stub for a free appetizer. That's all it said. It didn't say limit 1 per customer. It didn't say that. Should have. And it didn't say anything about dine in or dine out. So that was a mistake too. But the part about maybe limit 1 per customer, that should have been on there, and it wasn't. And after the game, I can remember kids standing around there saying, hey, can I just have your ticket stub? They're over there with these bags. And that week I went to Damon's And it was a circus at like 3:00 in the afternoon. There was a line out the door, and you go in there, you see the wait staff's completely overwhelmed, and you're like, what's going on? They're like, don't ask me. And then somebody would tell you, it's like, the college students are coming here with a stack of tickets, and they're just staying for the whole day. And they're like, oh yeah, give me that rib appetizer. I got this one. Woo! Just threw the ticket over there. Stack of tickets all day long. Somebody lost their job over that. I don't know if that's why the place ended up going out of business. I liked it and the way it went down, but I do remember, and that was like, so whatever it was in game 1, by game 2, game 3, everybody wanted the tickets because everybody wanted their free meals. And I think like they were just calling up saying, yeah, I'll take every appetizer times 2. What are the 10 appetizers? Give me all multiple. And then they would just come with a stack of 20 tickets and go, whoop, carry out, leave it with the bags. Crazy. Feel like there should be a 30 for 30 about that. Okay, let's before we move on, we got a lot of people jumping in, and I'm talking about I'm telling stories about getting free appetizers. We've got a fun fact about Golden Tate being as a relation. And that's going to remind me, and Brando, you're right, hit the like button, where, there's this thing about, well, could cause a divide in the Michigan locker room. And certainly it can. Like, you're going to like one guy over the other. You realize if you're a player that ultimately you want what's best for the team. You have to rely on the coaches for that. It's nice that the players are on the same page as the coaches about who should be the starter. All of those things. It gets trickier when you're with the fan base, because I would think that, like me and Brano, that we would say what we would like for Michigan this year at the quarterback position. We can have our opinion on who we think is going to be the ultimately the best signal caller for U of M from what we've seen for these first 2 games, even for the first game. We could probably tell you who we think it should be. But there also could be that Brano could just be like, hey, I'm a McNamara guy. You could just say, I'm a McNamara guy. And I could say, well, I'm a McCarthy. Well, that it does divide a fan base, and it's going to give you some factions in the fan base. And what I would say to Brano, like, I would think, like, and I get everybody, like, Brano's niece could have gone to Michigan and could have had a class, the same class as Kate McNamara. So she's a McNamara guy. So she roots for McNamara and she wants him as the quarterback. It could be something like that. There's a million reasons why you might like a quarterback, and it might not have anything to do with what's going on in the field. So there's a lot of that. I just saw this week on Twitter. There's like this super Michigan fan. I don't know really. I think he does podcasts and everything, but I don't know much about him. But the guy loves Kate McNamara, which is great. But he put a tweet out about how Michigan had done Cade McNamara wrong, because he had won the Big Ten. And now that, they put him in this 2-game competition for starting quarterback. And I thought, what's this guy's deal? Why would you say that? Now, if Brano was from Nevada, wherever Cade McNamara's hometown is, I could see just riding with Cade at any point, like, maybe feeling like, that they had done Cade wrong, because everything you would want. I mean, that's from your hometown. He's a hometown hero, and you love him. Certainly if you were related to him. If it was Brano McNamara, and that was your nephew, could I see just completely riding? Yes, I could see that. Other than that, I don't get it. I don't care if you went to the same class as him. I don't care if he dapped you up leaving the stadium, and signed your kid's jersey. I don't care if he walked your grandma across the street at one point when nobody was watching and you just fell in love with the kid, and all of those sort of things. And those are all great things, to like him. But when it comes down to it, you should want who is best for the team at the position. And you can have an opinion that the other guy could be, but this thing, like, just this like super Michigan fan that all of these people are like, oh, I really like this guy. Him saying that Michigan is doing Cade McNamara wrong is ridiculous. That's a ridiculous opinion. Okay. James sees some 2011 Denard and 2020 Patrick Mahomes in JJ. That's what he has seen. Yeah, James, I've seen that Mahomes. I don't know about the shoelace stuff, but I see the Mahomes. I see the Mahomes comparison. Big time. He runs around, throws across his body with a huge arm like Patrick Mahomes. Dual threat quarterback. And that's the other part. It's hard because Cade, plays a certain game. And no matter what, a hotshot 5-star recruit that was, on the bench coming in, all of those things, people are just going to be so hyped up. It could swing back for Cade McNamara. Again, like as much as I'm talking about, I think JJ's going to do this and he's not going to look back. You get to, I don't know, Michigan playing Penn State and McCarthy has a real stinker of a first half, turnover, fumble. I don't know. He's high, and low, just inaccurate. Could I see Harbaugh, tapping Cade on the shoulder and putting him in there for the second half? Those things, you hope that doesn't happen. You hope Michigan doesn't have a really bad half and have some pick sixes and McCarthy's really out of it, so he gets benched. So, they look for a spark. But because you do have a more than serviceable now backup, you may have the best backup in all of college football. I'm not sure that, it's going to be like there's going to be no hesitation, but a shorter leash, I think could happen. You're just like, it's a scenario. It's out there. So, that's it. Let's get to a couple other things I want to say about JJ. First, I wanted to tell you about Sharpening the Edge podcast. New podcast, Mason Blue Review. It happens on Friday where we pick some games. We pick every Michigan game. Every Michigan State game will now include the Lions. So we'll always pick those three. Then we'll pick our own 3 games that we like. And then we'll have a best bet. We have a parlay. And what else do we put in there? Props and parlays. That's a lot of things that's going on. The thing I can tell you is that if Utah down there at the end of the game could have made that play into the end zone, it would have flipped my entire week around. But as you know by now, that did not happen. All right, so JJ gets his first start. He was asked about his confidence level yesterday in front of the reporters, and he's extremely confident. That's good. His 11 snaps last week, his QBR, however you ever look at the formula, how they compute QBR, there's a lot of different factors in there, but McCarthy ends up with a 99.9 for number 9. Pretty good. Pro Football Focus, you see guys getting 70s and 80s and people say, yeah, that's pretty good. Pro Football Focus, 90.2 for McCarthy. Like I said, the guy was pretty much perfect. There was something that I am interested in. And this has to do with what Cade had to say on Saturday and what JJ had to say yesterday. A lot of Michigan fans were focused in on Cade on Saturday, being a little bit boo-hoo or whiny or everything else. That was not my opinion. I give the guy a break. I didn't even think he said very much, if anything, out of line. I thought he was fine. But there's a lot of Michigan fans that did not like his answers. They wanted more of a Michigan man answer, especially from a captain. We have been over that part. But there was the one point. Now, I went back and watched it again today because I didn't want to just paraphrase it. I wanted to write it down as an exact quote. And this is the exact quote. Cade McNamara on Saturday said, Coach mentioned that he doesn't really want to do the switching this year. That was extremely interesting to me because Harbaugh hasn't revealed his hand here. He's just talking about what he's doing here. Yeah, he's plowing the ground and everything else, but was in the podcast or Saturday talk about, he wanted to get Cade in games and he would always want to get Cade in games. But that's not what Cade said about the competition on Saturday. He said Coach mentioned that he really doesn't want to do the switching this year. Now, for me, it's not something I'm railing against. It's just my opinion on quarterback rotations, Michigan's quarterback rotation last year, Michigan's potential quarterback rotation this year. Last year, I understood sprinkling in a little JJ, sprinkle him in here, get his feet wet there, certainly in blowouts, get him some reps, get him happy, all of those kind of things. Michigan State game, there's a little too much JJ for my liking. I thought it contributed to the loss to Michigan State. And then it wasn't a surprise to me at all that when Michigan went on the road to play Penn State, that JJ McCarthy didn't play at all, not even one snap. That was not a true rotation. That was like, this is what happens when you got to give a guy an opportunity out there. I think that's what Jim Harbaugh was saying to himself. Couple snaps against Ohio State, but one pass attempt for JJ McCarthy. And the idea was, and there certainly was, we speculated a lot about how the quarterbacks would be deployed this year. And now here we have the 2-game special that Harbaugh is running. And he hasn't committed to anything after that. I didn't mind this 2-game audition. I liked it. I always thought that because McCarthy didn't play in the spring because of his shoulder, that the competition was not only going to spill into fall ball, but because Michigan is presented with these walkthroughs in September, sorry, that's what they are, that you could mess around a little bit with these quarterbacks, try this and try that. But you need to, at some point, and this was my thing about Harbaugh this year, at some point here in this non-conference, you needed to pick a guy and then go with him. No more, well, let's just bring a quarterback in for a random snap here. Let's bring McCarthy in the red zone on a 2nd down on the road against Michigan State. No more of that. That's playing with fire. That's dangerous. I understand having and I want an experienced, depth quarterback backing up the starter. You want all those things. And you never know when he's going to get in, all that kind of thing. But the idea of having two and playing two, it's never worked in the history of football. That's a big thing to be going against if you're Jim Harbaugh. So I was nervous about that. But when I saw that from Cade, not the boo-hoo, I'm whiny like some people thought. Coach mentioned that he really doesn't want to do the switching this year. So the media we're not always smart, but yesterday they were smart. They said, what about what Cade had to say on Saturday about not switching it out? Cade first said, look, I didn't see what Cade had to say Saturday, and that's good because even though you never want to exactly take the media's word for anything. A lot of times people tell me, hey, did you hear what so-and-so had to say about you? And I'm like, I don't know. He might have been, I can't take your total word unless I heard it. Nothing against you. So JJ did say that, but this is what McCarthy had to say about the possibility of not switching quarterbacks this year. Now, going to not making that switch, McCarthy talking about it yesterday, quote, I feel like that's the best way to do it for the team. JJ doesn't want any switching out. Cade said, Harbaugh said that he doesn't want to do switching out this year. Good move by JJ saying whatever the coach wants to do, he's right behind it. It worked last year. And ultimately, he is correct. It did work last year. Michigan did beat Ohio State. They did go to, and you know what they did. So I think I thought that's big news yesterday on top of the big news Saturday when most people missed it or didn't care. We're more worried about somebody not acting exactly how they want after, the news on Saturday. But, to me, that's a pretty big deal. And I thought I would mention it here to you guys. Now let's get back to some feedback. Let's see. These guys are talking about comparing JJ to Denard. I'm not really going down that road. I don't see it. Ferris was never really a fan of Denard or Devin as quarterback. Well, Devin should have been a quarterback the whole time, and Denard should have been a running back the whole time. And, that didn't happen. Devin was a wide receiver the one time up at Nebraska, and they put in that kid. It was a deer in headlights. And then, Denard, so they never, Hoke didn't have a very good grasp on that. Never did either of those guys any favors, and it didn't work out. But that's, more for summertime. Let's see what Montrell has to say. JJ's going to do great things. I can see Michigan beating Ohio State with him under center. Right. Hey, OSU is overrated. Yeah, I'm not ready for that. They're different. And when you're playing what is considered, and you can say Notre Dame sucks, Ohio State sucks, Notre Dame sucks, it's tough when you have your two of your top three rivals playing one another in the first game. Anything that goes bad is that, hey, maybe this team is bad, and then maybe the other team's probably bad. They're both bad. If Michigan was playing Notre Dame, Notre Dame sucks, Ohio State sucks. But, they weren't this powerhouse, juggernaut passing team, best offense in the country. They didn't present that. So there is a point to that. But it's a different team. It's a different team. I'm still not ready to say they're overrated. That's fine, Ferris, that you say that. Montrell's with me, and he doesn't think so. All right, people, running in on this Ohio State notion that they aren't any good and talking about each other, more of Denard here. So I don't really people staying away from JJ talked yesterday about his speed, and I don't know, was it Harbaugh that said he was running in the 4.5s? And JJ even said 4.4, but then he said he didn't have an official time on it. So I don't know, Ferris. Remember when he ran and caught Blake Corum last year in the Big Ten championship game? I mean, if you're running a 4.4, but do I think that there's a chance that he could be a sub 4.5 guy? Just on I don't have any Gen X, or I didn't have any way to time him myself. Just looking at some of the games and watching him, I think he could be a sub 4.6 guy, and I don't know. But you could be right. Ferris saying he's fast, but not as fast as you think. Maybe it's what Wesley's saying, that people think he walks on water. But it's different when teams are planning for you now instead of being the backup guy. There you go. I'm with it. Here's still people arguing about his speed. So let me get to something else. The polls, they did come out yesterday, and Michigan moved up to number 4, moved up 4 spots. The AP, remember, they had him 8 and the coaches had him 6. So you were like, yeah, the coaches are smarter. Now you think the press is smarter because they jumped them up 4 spots to number 4. And the coaches even moved them up a spot. They're at number 5. Now, I like, if you're a coach or you're a player, being able to not be so rigid when it comes down to voting. If you watch a team, no matter what, if you're sitting there, if you're watching a team, you say, you know what, I think that team looks like a top 4 team. Don't be afraid to move them up, even if it's drastic. Now, I had Michigan at number 4 in my preseason poll, and so they're right where I think they should be. And I think the people wanted to wait to see. I don't know what everyone got so encouraged about. Yeah, I do. The defense was flying around. They look like they got a lot of nice candidates for replacing Ajabo and Hutchinson and Dax Hill. They look like they got a lot of candidates that look like a lot of speed and look like they they were prepared. There wasn't any, there were no penalties on that side of the ball. A lot of good things. And offensively, people watch JJ McCarthy and know that he's going to win the job. They're like, let's move this team up. Team's got a, they got a playmaker at quarterback, and at defense, they got a bunch of heaters. So bangers, heaters, bangers. They got a bunch of bangers. So there it is. Let me give you a quick look at some ball games that are going to be played this weekend. Just a quick look. If you've thought about the schedule already, you know how your Saturday is going to go. That is great. You've got Michigan State taking on Akron. Of course, Michigan, Hawaii at 8 o'clock. But at noon, not so bad. Alabama, Texas, a 20-point line there for the Tide. But this is played at Texas Memorial Stadium. So there you go. So Texas is going to have a little bit of home cooking and being played in Austin. How about that for Alabama? I don't think watching Ohio State's going to be able to give you anything. I do think flipping, you like one game in a window to flip to. So you do have Texas, Alabama. I like this Arkansas team, Arkansas, South Carolina. So there's the one that you're going to be flipping back and forth to. You do get to 3:30. None of these other games. I don't care about Notre Dame and Marshall and Texas. And there it is. Tennessee at Pitt. I think this might be, no, there's one other one being played at the same time as Michigan. This is a top 25 matchup. That's not bad for a 3:30 window game. Is there another game that you're going to flip between that 3:30 game? Oh, maybe Michigan State at 4 o'clock. Here's a nice one. That's a top 25 matchup. Anthony Richardson, if you have never watched Florida play, the quarterback from the Gators is worth tuning in for. Guys, fabulous. This might be Kentucky's toughest game all year long. They'll be lining up for this one. That is going to be an awesome game. And every time I have the chance to watch Anthony Richardson play, I am going to be there for that. We know we got Michigan at 8 o'clock. Would we want to flip around to any other game? Well, there's a real late game. Baylor and BYU. A top 25 matchup. Could be one. Michigan at 8. Time that game gets over. That would be nice. The last few. I wasn't at the Washington night game before, but all the night games before that Michigan's ever had, I have been to. I liked the press box is up so high now that it's been like that for I think 10 years, but I would wait around and I would watch a game, a late game. This is when Michigan had some night games, and I could look out and I could see stadium. I could look right down, and you could pretty much see when it starts thinning out, well, it's time for me to go. Because it's pretty, everybody's leaving. Not many are staying around. Like, I like when it's a noon game, 3:30 game. I like staying around for 3-4 hours after a game. That's great. I like to go somewhere that has a TV, the tailgate. There's a lot of people that have that. The night games, most people, and you understand, they have been partying since 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It is now 11 o'clock. That is a lot of party time. They're ready to go home. So everyone gets in their car, and it's hard to get out of there on a Saturday night. I'm stating a lot of the obvious things. I think people know all that. One other thing that I wanted to get to is the Michigan defense. And yeah, they had guys flying around, and nobody looked better for Michigan this past weekend than their linebacker. That's not him. Jaylen Harrell, the 6'4", 242-pound linebacker out of Tampa. He had a couple sacks, a half dozen hurries. Pro Football Focus looked at a pass rush win rate and ended up giving him a high grade on PFF as well. You like that? Maybe take a look at those Pro Football Focus rankings. And Harrell, just by watching him, he was all over the place for that Michigan defense. And he's one of those guys. Like we talked about Mazi Smith. Who's the top end NFL talent that Michigan has? Mazi Smith and DJ Turner, the playmaker, sub 4.3 speed. Turner in the back end, number 5. Mazi Smith up front, number 58. Those are two guys that you could see, maybe not in the first round, but second round, sure, I could see that right now, and maybe first round for both of those guys. But then who else? Who else has a chance to be an early NFL pick and have that kind of talent defensively like the Michigan? I'm going to look to Jaylen Harrell. I think he's got that kind of game. I would also say next to Mazi Smith, Chris Jenkins looks like he has that kind of potential down there. Now, I know Anoma looks like he has it, and then I'm going to wait a couple more games, and I'm just saying potential. Somebody could watch this and say, "Oh yeah, after one game, boy, you got Jenkins." I've got Jenkins and Harrell, DJ Turner and Mazi Smith all in the first round. 4 guys. I'm not saying that. I think there's 2 in Turner and Mazi Smith that I don't think that's a crazy prediction. And I do think that Harrell and Jenkins have that kind of potential. And you saw that flash this past Saturday. But yeah, we've got to wait. Got to wait till this Saturday. No, you got to wait till you got to wait maybe halfway through the season with the the kind of teams that Michigan has in front of them. But that's it. I can wait. I'm patient. I can also talk about it in terms where it's potential, and I understand what the opponent's bringing to the table. But I could still be excited, and I can still talk about that potential from what I'm seeing there. So that's where I am sitting here, and that's what I have. And Brando mentioning that Eric All could be that kind of player, and I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm not going to disagree with you, Brando. I think it could be that way. D. Brown says Harbaugh needs more credit for winning the Big Ten without a quarterback. Well, I'm not going to knock Cade McNamara for being the quarterback for a Big Ten championship team without being the focus for the offense. I know it's different. Normally, when you're talking about a championship team, you're going to have a championship quarterback and he's going to lead the way. And no, McNamara didn't do that. Michigan was led by its offensive line and their 2 running backs. And then when Corum got hurt, then the focus became, well, this is Hassan Haskins' team, which is fine. But I'm not knocking. I'm not knocking Cade McNamara. And Michigan, you never know it. You don't sit around predicting it because, then you're starting to talk about injuries or bad play for the other guy. But Cade McNamara could be involved in every big part of Michigan football this year. Yeah, after last week, is it flipped where it certainly looked? Yes, we all know that. But I'm not done. And then this happens when you're comparing all-time greats. Like, hey, you got Jordan, you got LeBron. These guys are both great. What happens is like, LeBron can't cross the street. He's a loser. It's like, wait a second. He's the second greatest player of all time. You don't need to dog the other guy. So no, I don't know. Harbaugh's gotten all the credit that he deserves. I don't think he deserves any more for winning the Big Ten with Cade McNamara. So I'm going to disagree with you on that. There's somebody that wants to put Yabi Anoma in the conversation for a potential first round pick. 1 game, 1 play. We're got him in the first round. Yeah. The argument, and I'm with you there. I'm not we're going to have to wait a few more games, Dave. I am with you. I liked the first play. It was great. He looked awesome. He looked like that. When I looked up on Rivals on the profile, and you're looking at the 5 stars from a couple of years ago in the class that he was in, he's right next to Micah Parsons. And I was just listening to a preview of the Tampa-Dallas game in the Cowboy Reporter. I don't remember who he was, but he was just like, Micah Parsons is the best defender in the league. And, he's going to show it against the Bucs on Sunday night. Bucs are hurting on their offensive line, and Parsons is just going to be making a beeline. He's such a disruptive force. And there's, you look, I think it was number 7 overall player in the country, Micah Parsons, number 8, Yabi Anoma, but now is at Michigan. So, yeah, I mean, there's that you got tucked in your back pocket. Like, if Anoma just came on, let's say he was a 3-star out of Connecticut, and he came on and made that play, you'd say, ooh, wow, that's pretty nice for this kid, or you'd say something like that. But knowing the credentials coming out of high school for Anoma, it cranks everything up that much more. I think that's the JJ McCarthy factor, what he's got going for him. Sam indicating that a few non-drops would have boosted Cade's numbers last Saturday. Sure. I think, heck, he had one. I know all dropped one. All tripped on one. Cornelius Johnson dropped one that hit him right in the chest. Was it Ronnie Bell who dropped the other one? There were a few. You're right. But when you start getting to that point, like I remember it was the spring game, and I was saying, like, yeah, Cade missed his first shot to Coach O, but the next one was, the defender got his hand in there, his pass broken up. Then he had a drop, and then he had another one where the defender got his. But people don't get, how are you moving the team? And I don't know if Cade, if he locks on too much to his receivers, if he doesn't go through his progressions, or if he is trying to fit the football, that this is now in these different reps against Colorado State and in the spring game, it was a similar type thing. He throws to his receiver that he is locked onto when he is covered. And it's great. You get really, like, remember the one that all they threw kind of low, and all picked it up like off his, maybe it wasn't quite off his shoe tops, but it definitely had to reach down. Very athletic play for a tight end, for a big fellow like that, being able to haul that one in. But I mean, he had the defender was blanketed it on him. It was the only play. Now, that's an amazing throw, but to try to fit into these super tight windows, I feel like Cade throws into too tight of windows when a receiver is on his guy, where if it's that close, let's find someone else. Somebody else has got to be at least the same amount of open, or maybe way more open. Now, the coaches have gone through all the tape. It'd be interesting if they come up with that same conclusion as me. That was just something that I was thinking about as I was watching it. Cade threw a ball to Eric All, pretty much on the hash, right to him, and zipping right in, and All was right there. But the guy was right on his back, and the guy just knocked it away. You say, well, it's a tough one. That was a pass broken up. It's like, well, why are you throwing that one? If you're going to throw it to All, maybe you got to throw it up, because he had a guy all over him. Those are a couple observations that I have. I think me and Brano are one of the same, because I was thinking that Andrell Anthony needed more touches as well. But here's the one thing about these easy games, and when you do have a lot of these different wide receivers, you only have so many guys. Like, somebody was telling me the same thing. You're only going to target Ronnie Bell 3 times. It's like, I don't know. Okay, well, how come they didn't throw the ball deep? These are all fair type points and questions. Why didn't they throw the ball more deep? Well, maybe Colorado State took their 2 safeties and played them 10 yards further back than most teams are going to play them. And if they do that, well, then that's when you throw underneath. And Michigan was throwing a lot underneath. And that seam route, whether it was Cade or whether it was JJ using the first 20 yards of the field and spreading it out instead of, taking those vertical shots. That could have been the case. Is that something that I know there's a lot of people looking. I would like to see JJ. Who doesn't? You say, we all like bombs. We all like for receivers and quarterbacks to pull the top off of the defense. There's nothing more than a quick strike of standing in the pocket and unfurling a 60-yarder down the field that drops right in the breadbasket of your wide receiver, Andrell Anthony, running down the outstretched arms of the defender. Touchdown. Nothing better than that. So, yeah, I'd like to see some of that myself. And I want to see those throws and kind of touch that JJ puts on the deep ball against the Rainbows. I don't need to see him run. I've seen it. We were watching a play yesterday. Scarcelli was diagramming it, and JJ just took a little sprint out to the right, ended up throwing the ball. It was a big league move. He made it look, it was very natural for him, but it was also a big time move. A lot of quarterbacks would have just gotten sacked there. JJ just took like 2 gigantic steps, kind of just moved out of it. And it was fast. It was athletic. And it was like, wow, that's a big league play. You can go back and watch yesterday's tape with Scarcelli. He set that one play up. So that's it. All right, one more on the feedback. And it's from Eddie. He says, that's why having a running quarterback sets up the long ball by bringing the safeties up. Well, there you go. Hawaii is not going to be able to keep the 2 Rainbows, 20 yards down the field, Eddie, right? So there you go. Coming up tomorrow, we'll examine just how good this Michigan defense can be. We'll talk a little bit further about what we want to see from this offense. I'll be excited tomorrow. You got the NFL starting up as well, so we got all those Thursday games. Like it's Saturday, it's Sunday, it's on. This is it. Now it is. We always say, boy, the fall and college football. Now everything's going, which is exciting. I want to remind everyone that you want more Michigan football coverage. Join up with the Maize and Blue Review today. This is a great gift. This is a great gift for yourself if you're a Michigan fan. What I'm doing right here for the hour, talking about Michigan and every single move that can be made, that's what all of the posters are doing all day and all night. Everything that is said is analyzed. Every opinion is out there, and it is constant. The same thing when we're talking about basketball. And if you like recruiting, then it is a must. So Michigan.rivals.com. Join the Maize and Blue Review today. We will see you here tomorrow. We'll get some scores out there. Accounts talking about 50 plus. Yeah. 50 sounds like the minimum. I'm thinking 60. And that's just where we are. And I hear 70. We'll get to it. See you tomorrow.